The 2023 football season has come to a close, marking the end of a 14 playoff era and the running for a newly crowned champion. Welcome everyone back to Unfiltered, where we break down the top Ohio State sports, all the way down to our latest predictions in just 10 minutes. The clock starts now. So guys, last time you saw us, we were talking about the national championship game and we gave you our predictions, but needless to say, I don't think any of us were super close. What were your thoughts on the overall game?
I was shocked. I did not expect Michigan to win. I wanted Washington to win. I wanted Michael Penix to win it all after the season that he had. But, you know, it's okay. It's a learning lesson for all the teams, and it's good that Michigan won, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I also wanted Washington to win, but at the end of the day, Michigan was a better team, and I mean, that showed out there on the field.
Yeah, definitely. As someone that picked Alabama to win it all, that first game broke my heart a little bit, but I do think Michigan was the better team, and they deserved it.
Well, luckily for Buckeye fans, that game has ended, and a lot of those players have declared for the NFL draft, including several Buckeyes. 6 Ohio State players declared for the draft: Steele Chambers, Mayan Williams. But the biggest name is Marvin Harrison Jr. He was the last Buckeye to literally announce, well, one of the last Buckeyes to announce that he would be going to the NFL draft. And now let's just talk a little bit about Marvin Harrison. The junior caught 62 balls to go along with 14 touchdowns and 1,200 yards this season, becoming the first wide receiver in Ohio State history to reach that feat. And he was also a Heisman candidate and won the Biletnikoff Award, which is granted to the best receiver in college football. So obviously he has these credentials, we know that, right? And so the question begs, where will he go in the NFL draft? What pick will he be? And so this is the draft order right now. 28 picks are currently already locked in. So we know that these are the teams who have the top 10 picks. The Chicago Bears, the Washington Commanders, New England, Arizona. They're all in the running for this player who can be probably one of the best. He was one of the best in college football. So, in my personal opinion, I think the Bears should keep him because right now, they are in desperate need of a receiver. They have Darnell Mooney, but as of right now, his future is pretty much up in the air. They did not extend his contract. And you have Justin Fields, who, in my opinion, while Caleb Williams from USC, the quarterback from USC, does have the arm talent, he does not have the running skills at all. Justin Fields reminds me of like a Lamar Jackson, but just a little bit faster. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me it does. He reminds me of him. And then Justin Fields is also a Buckeye, so Buckeye fans, Buckeye to Buckeye,
yes.
The Buckeye connection, right? And so it is important to note, though, that Justin Fields did not play with Marvin Harrison. When Justin Fields entered the NFL, it was his first year, and it was also Marvin Harrison's first year here as a Buckeye. So I think that would be a great connection between those two if we can possibly see it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I think, the Buckeye connection, if they were able to play together, I think the Bears would be successful. Going forward in the NFL, I think it would be right if they did draft Marvin Harrison Jr. as that, number 1 overall pick for the Bears. He deserves it and all of the, talent that he already has done in college football. But I mean, it's gonna definitely be interesting. For me, as a Raider fan, I'm really looking forward for Jaden Daniels potentially as a quarterback for the Raiders. I think it'll be really interesting, but there's so many offensive components in the draft this year, which I think is very interesting. So it's going to be really cool to see where everyone ends up.
A lot of Buckeyes are coming back in the name of unfinished business. I think we can all agree the Buckeyes have had the best offseason so far as their returners go and in the transfer portal. So Elise will give us more and highlight who those players are.
Yes, definitely. And there is a lot to break down. So starting on the offensive side of things, the biggest names are senior wide receiver Emeka Egbuka and star running back Travion Henderson, both returning for their senior seasons. And as we remember, those two were both key pieces in the offense. Some other notable names include wide receivers Carnell Tate and Jaden Ballard, tight end G. Scott Jr., left tackle Josh Simmons, left guard Donovan Jackson, and right guard Josh Fryer. And the Buckeyes are perhaps looking even stronger on defense as they've been able to return a high percentage of starters, including defensive ends J.T. Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, defensive tackle Tyleik Williams, linebackers Cody Simon and C.J. Hicks, corners, Davison Igbinosun, Jordan Hancock, and Denzel Burke, and safeties, Lathan Ransom and Sonny Styles. And it's important to note that these defensive players that are returning accounted for 82% of the 2023 defense's tackles for loss, 91% of its sacks, 88% of its interceptions and fumble recoveries, and 82% of its pass breakups, which is fantastic news for Buckeye fans, as the defense was the strong point of the team last season. And it looks like it'll only be getting stronger as Ohio State has been able to dominate the transfer portal the past few weeks, acquiring defensive asset Caleb Downs, who led Alabama in total tackles this season. And Ryan Day and the coaching staff have been busy reshaping the offense by picking up a few of Downs' fellow teammates from Alabama in center Seth McLaughlin and quarterback Julian Sayin. And speaking of quarterbacks, it's safe to say Ohio State has revamped their previously weak quarterback room into arguably one of the best in the nation by picking up Will Howard from Kansas State, who is the experienced quarterback that we were lacking last season. And he's also got some great prospects lined up behind him in Sayin, Brown, Kleinholtz, and highly rated class of 24 recruit Air Noland. So, of course, a quarterback is nothing without great backs and receivers, but the Buckeyes are covered there as well, picking up the #1 running back in the portal, Quinshon Judkins of Ole Miss, who is one of the best running backs in the SEC and will become a great duo with Travion Henderson.
Great.
And as far as receivers, they added Will Kaczmarek, a tight end out of Ohio University, and top wide receiver recruit Jeremiah Smith. That is so much.
That
Ohio State. Oh my gosh.
Take a breath.
Yeah. So obviously, Ohio State is now picked to have one of, if not the best, most talented rosters in college football, and expectations are definitely high going into next season.
I mean, it is so exciting, like you said, about the quarterback room. Mm-hmm. After that Mizzou game, it was looking very questionable. Kyle McCord obviously is in Syracuse now. We have Will Howard. But it was Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz that were left, and Devin Brown did get hurt and didn't look all that impressive either in that game. Lincoln Kienholz, I mean, he's just a freshman, so he probably didn't have much reps going into the game. But that was a huge question for next season. I think every Buckeye was really concerned about how next season was going to be playing out. But with Will Howard and Air Noland and Julian Sayin, it's going to be really great to see. Yeah. And then especially with the Mecca coming back, Travion Henderson, it's going to be so crazy. Yes. Yeah. And I'm excited for it.
I think we're all excited.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, like, pre-rankings have come out, and all of the pre-rankings, who's at #1? Ohio State. Like, it's very early pre-rankings, but it is exciting.
Yeah. And while many Buckeyes are returning, there is a key figure in college football who is not, and Nick Saban. Nick Saban is the longtime head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Ryan will give us more on that.
Yeah, so you know, everyone knows Nick Saban, like he is like the foundation of college football. He left us this past year. I mean, like it's actually crazy, and like just like to look back at what he has done in college football, like all of the years he has been coaching has been amazing. Nick Saban had never had a losing career. Never had a losing career. In the 28 seasons he was in college football, which is already crazy enough just to say. He got a championship with LSU after they hadn't won in 50 years in 2003. And then after LSU, he went to the Crimson Tide. He was rolling with them for 17 years. And at the Crimson Tide, he had 4 Heisman players. He had 9 SEC titles. Isn't that, like, that's crazy to even say out loud, like, to consistently be, like, a winning franchise in Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. So Nick Saban stands as the only football coach with the most national championships, but also leaves an everlasting legacy as one of the most prominent college football coaches in history as he reconstructed the Crimson Tide. And so I think, honestly, we just need to, like, clap for him right now. Like, I can't, like, it's sad, it's sad.
It is sad.
But to fill the shoes, like, who's going to take over the Crimson Tide after Nick Saban's amazing legacy? Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer, who was the coach for the Washington Huskies this past season and brought them to the national championship, is going to the Crimson Tide. He only was the coach at Washington for 2 years after they had a losing season, 4-8 in 2021, and he was able to keep them in 25-3 for the past 2 years. And he just said bye, just like that.
Crazy.
So I guess, like, the question is he going to be a good fit for Alabama? is this even the right decision? What does Washington think? Like, do you leave them like that? What do we do? Like, what do you guys think?
Exactly. Yeah, there's definitely been a little bit of drama on the Washington side of things. Apparently just up and left without saying anything. It's been so interesting to see all of these Alabama players just get up and leave before they've even started probably practicing or anything. Like, they just obviously don't have much faith in him, which is interesting to see. And it'll be really interesting to see how the whole season plays out under him.
Exactly, and you asked, how do you replace Nick Saban? You don't. But, I mean, he's a great coach. He did good at Washington. I mean, he did great at Washington. But I don't think he's going to have the same impact on Alabama as Nick Saban did, obviously. And like you said, so many of the players already got up and left. And like for the Buckeyes, we got a few of them. But it'll definitely be interesting to watch them play next season, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, DeBoer obviously has something to prove, but so did former Buckeye quarterback and Houston Texans C.J. Stroud. Stroud, a first-year starter, led the Texans to the playoffs this year, and Daniella will give us more on that.
Oh, yes, C.J. Stroud led the Houston Texans to an outstanding playoff run. They had first faced the Cleveland Browns in the wild card round, Jayla's very own team. They had a dominant win with the final score of 45-14, and going into this, many weren't even sure if the Texans were going to get a playoff spot. It really came down to the final season of regular play, and sure enough, they got that spot, but there were so many doubters and so many people saying the Cleveland Browns were going to win, and what was CJ's response to that? We have no chance? All right. And you know what? He showed that because they won 45-14. Yeah, the Browns had no chance. The Browns had no chance. But in this game, he threw for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns, which helped secure the Texans' win. This was also the Houston Texans' first time back in the playoffs since 2019. I'd also like to add, he threw around 236 yards in just the first half of the game, which I know he broke a record. But, I mean, that's just crazy. 236 yards in the first half of the game. Joe Flacco couldn't do that, but C.J. Stroud did. And so
Joe Flacco was going to the other team.
He was going to the other team, and you know what? It helped the Texans. But unfortunately for the Texans, their victorious run was going to come to an end as they went to play the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round, and the Ravens, of course, were victorious over the Texans and won 34-10. And though this was not Stroud's greatest game of the season, as he completed only 19 out of 33 of his passes for 175 yards, he and the Texans proved many wrong by getting as far as they did, which is really impressive, and I don't think it should dictate whether or not he is an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate. So let's talk his overall stats. He finished his rookie season with 4,557 passing yards, which includes postseason games, and I think it's safe to say he has surely earned a spot to be a candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year, as he was simply outstanding his very first year, but he does have some competition for that spot. Puka Nacua with the Los Angeles Rams is the other front runner, as he has also had a great rookie season as well, so it's definitely a two-man race, and it's going to come down to the wire. Of course, I personally believe C.J. Stroud should get it. Biased, but I'd also think it's safe to say that the Houston Texans have found their quarterback, and it's going to be so exciting to see what both C.J. Stroud does and the Texans do next season.
Yeah, obviously as a Cleveland Brown fan, it was not very, my Christmas wasn't very well. Nothing was well. The year wasn't well, okay? But I think even though CJ did not obviously perform that well against the Baltimore Ravens, he only threw for 175 yards. But overall, the team didn't play well. They had many penalties. They had more penalties than first down, and they had more penalty yards than the rushing yards, which is obviously a problem. You're not going to win like that, especially in Baltimore.
Exactly.
The Texans were also unable to score in the entire second half of the game, but in my opinion, this should not negate what C.J. Stroud has done all year for the Texans. But there are still teams in the playoffs right now with the NFC Championship game with the Detroit and the 49ers, and then we also have the AFC Championship game between the Ravens and the Chiefs. So which game are you guys looking forward to the most?
I personally am looking forward to the Detroit Lions and the 49er game, and I really want Detroit to win. Like, after everything that has happened, like, with that franchise, I think they deserve to win, but it's going to be competitive because the 49ers have an amazing, tough team. But I'm not a 49er fan, so I'm going with Detroit.
I'm also looking forward to the Lions-49ers game, and I'm a Cowboys fan, so I, of course, cannot root for the 49ers. I don't want them to win. I want the Lions to win for obvious reasons. It's been, what, like 30 years or something like that?
Since longer than the Browns.
Yeah, longer than the Browns.
saying something.
Yeah. I think it would be so great for the Lions fan base and just the team in general to get that win and go to the Super Bowl. I think it would be so fun to watch them in the Super Bowl, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you guys. I'm on the NFC Championship with the Lions and the 49ers. I would just love to see the Lions win as much as, like, I like the 49ers. They got Chase Young and Nick Bosa, Buckeyes, you know. But it's the Lions' chance. I would love to see them win this.
I'm the odd man out, I guess. I'm looking forward to the AFC Championship game between the Ravens and Chiefs. Why? Because I want to see this Taylor Swift saga come to an end.
Yes!
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
I like Jason Kelsey. He's making them likable, but I want to see it come to an end. I'm tired of it. But in reality, I really just want to see Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes, the former MVP versus the current MVP. He's going to be the MVP, so I'm looking forward to that game the most. But to see if any of us was right in our predictions, tune in next week to Unfiltered. Thank you guys once again. We appreciate it so much, and have a good one.